On the third day of the son's disappearance, I received a document slipped under my door by the property management. It was the state of emergency, home safety guidelines. Rule number 1. Absolutely, do not look outside the window, no matter what sounds you hear. Rule number 6. If you find an extra person inside your home, please pretend they have always been a part of your family. I tightly clutched this piece of paper, listening to the knocking from outside my door. It was the voice of my grandmother, who had passed away long ago. No. Open the door. It's so dark out here. This was not a solar eclipse. A solar eclipse doesn't last for 72 hours. A solar eclipse wouldn't cause all the stars and the moon to disappear at once, turning the sky into a pitch-black canvas of thick ink. Even the streetlights had gone out. Cell phone signals became intermittent. On the very first day the sun vanished. The internet connection was also the final news notification pushed to my phone was a national state of emergency declaration. Emergency alert. Due to unknown causes, a drastic global phenomenon has occurred. All sunlight has completely disappeared. All residents are requested to cease outdoor activities immediately, return home, and remain indoors. Lock all doors and windows tightly. Draw the curtains. Stockpile light sources. Under no circumstances should you respond to any voices calling from outside. Rescue operations and supply distributions are being organized. Please remain calm and wait for rescue. Repeat, do not respond to voices calling from outside. After that, the internet went out completely. At 3 p.m., a very faint scratching sound came from the front door. I suffer from social anxiety, so I am extremely sensitive to outside noises. In that split second, my heart violently contracted. The sound stopped. Immediately after, a yellowed piece of A4 paper was slowly slipped inside. I waited for 10 minutes, clutching a box cutter in my hand. I crept to the entryway and picked up the paper. Happy Home Residential Community, State of Emergency. Home Safety Guidelines. Dear residents, given the current extreme and anomalous environmental conditions, to maximize the safety of your lives, you must strictly adhere to the following rules. Any violations are at your own risk. These rules were jointly drafted by Property Management and the Sub-District Office. We hold the ultimate right of interpretation. 1. Please ensure at all times that windows and doors are tightly closed, and all blackout curtains are fully drawn. Absolutely, do not look outside, whether you see a light source or hear a familiar voice. There are no living people outside your window right now. Repeat, there are no living people. 2. Daily supplies, including drinking water, compressed biscuits, en batterie, will be dropped off your door. The delivery personnel will knock. 3 long knocks and 1 short knock is the code. If the knocking pattern does not match, do not open the door under any circumstances. Is no knocking. Do not open the door under any circumstances. Please conserve electricity, although the power supply is currently active. Please be fully prepared for a total blackout. Use cold light sources whenever possible and avoid using red light. If the lights in your house suddenly turn red, please close your eyes immediately. Lie face down on the floor and count silently 4 to 100 seconds. If you notice your TV or radio turning on by itself, please do not panic. Do not pay any attention to the content being broadcasted. Even if it is the voice of your loved ones crying for help, just unplug the power cord. 5. Living alone is considered a high-risk state. If you are living alone, please invent a fictional roommate in your home. Say good morning and good night to them loudly every day, and set an extra set of bowls and chopsticks when eating. This will effectively lower your presence. 6. If you notice that an extra person has actually appeared in your home, please remain calm. Do not scream. Do not question them. Please pretend they have always been a part of your family and continue living your life according to Rule 5 until they leave on their own initiative. 7. If you hear screams coming from a neighbor's house, whether they are begging for their life or calling for help, please pretend you didn't hear it. Do not attempt to offer assistance. The walls have ears, and their hearing is extremely sharp. 8. If someone outside your door claims to be a community worker, ask them to recite Rule 4 of these guidelines. If they recite it incorrectly, step away from the door immediately and barricade it completely with heavy objects. Below Rule 8, there was a line of messy handwriting, as if hastily added at the last minute. 9. Never look in the mirror, especially at midnight. If you absolutely must look, take one glance and leave immediately, regardless of whether the thing in the mirror is you or not. Reading this paper, première felt d'Achille. Shoot straight from the soles of my feet to the top of my skull. No living people outside. An extra person at home. Just at that moment, someone knocked on the security door. Knock. 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 3 long, 1 short. I subconsciously glanced at my phone. The screen glaringly displayed exactly 8 a.m. Terrifying. Ms. Lin, your supplies have arrived. A voice came from outside the door. It was the voice of property manager, Zhao Zhong. But I clearly remembered Zhao Zhong had a lisp, and his speech was always a bit slurred. Yet, this voice outside my door, although it sounded exactly like Zhao Zhong, was enunciating every word if it were coming out of a professional news broadcaster's mouth, carrying a sort of mechanical precision. Please open the door to retrieve. If left outside your items, they will eat it. He deliberately emphasized the word eat. My whole body stiffened. Rule to set the delivery person would knock. 3 long, 1 short. He knocked, but the rules to Esteris to open the door and face him directly. Just leave it at the door. I'll get it in a minute. I tried my best to keep my voice from trembling. The entity outside went silent. A deathly silence lasted for about 5 seconds. Understood, Ms. Lin. Enjoy your meal. The footsteps faded away. They were very heavy, as if dragging something soaking wet across the floor as he walked. I didn't dare to open the door immediately. I waited for a full half hour, until there wasn't a single sound left in the hallway. Then première poulet, a black plastic bag, from the doorstep into my apartment. Inside the bag were 2 bottles of mineral water, a compressed biscuit, and a small note. The handwriting was crooked, like it was written by a child. Sister, whatever you do, don't trust the red eyes. I'm playing hide and seek too. Don't get caught. I violently snapped my head around to look at the living room. The curtains were drawn tight, but the darkness seeping through the gaps seemed even thicker than before. I had to follow the rules. My social anxiety, survival instinct told me if I didn't want to die, I needed to listen. I walked over to the dining table, trembling as I took out the extra set bowls and chopsticks I had never used, placed them opposite me, took a deep breath, and said to the empty chair, Mom, time to eat. Day 5 of living alone. I had gotten used to talking to the air. Good morning, Mom. We're eating compressed biscuits today. Look, doesn't it taste a bit like the steamed sponge cake you used to make? Mom, I'm going to the bathroom. Keep an eye on the door for me. I was really committed to the act, or rather, I had no choice but to commit, because Rule 5 said this would lower my presence. And honestly, the past few days had indeed been relatively peaceful until last night. Last night, I went to the kitchen for water. When I passed the mirror in the living room, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in my peripheral vision. It seemed to be a beat slower than my actual movements. I raised my hand to wipe my sweat, and the me in the mirror only raised her hand 2 seconds later. I remembered that handwritten warning. Never look in the mirror. That same night, I found a piece of cloth and covered the mirror. Today was supply distribution day again. At 8 a.m., the knocking sounded once more. Knock, 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 knock. 3 long, 1 short. Ms. Lin, your supplies are here. Thank you. Just leave them at the door. Today's supplies are quite heavy. We need your signature. Signature. The rules never mentioned a signature. I instantly became alert. No need. It's inconvenient for me. You can sign for me. It must be signed in person. This is a directive from the higher-ups to confirm that you are still alive. sorry, I'm not opening the door. My social anxiety, at this very moment, became my best shield. I refused to let anyone enter my safe territory. Even if it was the Grim Reaper himself. Are you the only one at home right now? My heart skipped a violent beat. Rule 5. He was testing me. I immediately shouted into the empty living room, Mom. Someone is at the door. Put down the meat cleaver and come take a look. After shouting that, I yelled towards the door again. My mom is chopping meat. She's in a bad mood. Make her sign it. The entity outside went silent again. This time, the silence lasted even longer. Since Auntie is busy, never mind. I'll leave the items at the door. The heavy footsteps resumed. Dragging, wet. Slowly, fading away. That was too close. After waiting a long time, I opened the door, again to grab the supplies. This time, besides water and biscuits, there was an extra red candle. Carved into the candle was a line of tiny text. Use only in extreme emergencies. The light can drive them away, but it will also attract something much bigger. Use with extreme caution. There was also a note. Still that same crooked handwriting. That uncle delivering the supplies. He has no feet. Sister, your acting is really good. Even I almost believed you. Boot. Next time, don't let him hear 2 heartbeats coming from inside. 2 heartbeats. I have 2 heartbeats. What does this mean? Was my heartbeat just too loud because I was so nervous? I closed the door and returned to the living room. As soon as I sat down, I sensed something was wrong. The spare bowl and chopsticks I had set opposite me on the dining table. Those chopsticks. I had originally laid them neatly across the top of the bowl. Now, they were stabbed straight down into the bowl of food. Exactly like an offering to the dead. Maybe I was just remembering wrong. Maybe I was too frantic yesterday and accidentally stabbed them in to calm my nerves. I went to the bathroom to wash my face. I scrubbed my face with my eyes closed. My mind consumed by that phrase, 2 heartbeats. When I opened my eyes, première phrase. The bathroom mirror. I had forgotten to cover this mirror. My reflection in the mirror was staring blankly right back at me. And standing right behind me was a person, wearing an old-fashioned floral blouse. 8 gruyère. And a slightly hunched back. En old lady, et toi Milan mother. She was smiling kindly, her hands resting on my shoulders. But I couldn't feel any weight on my shoulders at all. Nor could I feel anyone standing behind me. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. But my throat felt like it was sealed with cement. Rule 6. If you notice that an extra person has actually appeared in your home, please remain calm. Please pretend they have always been a part of your family until they leave on their own initiative. Stay calm. Do not look back. If I look back, I'm dead. She is only visible in the mirror, not in reality. I shakily reached out and grabbed my towel, burying my face and my line of sight into the fabric. Morning, Grandma. I really miss your braised pork. I mumbled to myself while wiping my face, pretending this was just my daily routine of talking to my fictional roommate. I avoided looking in the mirror. Tournez d'around the bathroom. In that instant, première felt à bunch of my neck. But I kept my eyes glued to the floor and inched my way back to the living room, step by step. I'm gonna see if the TV is working. I forced an excuse and sat down on the sofa. Vainement. That feeling of being watched was like a needle in my back. I knew she had followed me out. She was right behind me. Time became a blur in this sealed-off apartment. I didn't know how long had passed. Mais bon, maybe an entire day. Grandma just stood right behind me the whole time. She made no sound. She didn't speak. She had no physical form. I could feel that biting chill. It was the temperature of a grave. I had no choice but to bite the bullet and keep acting. Grandma, aren't you tired? Sit down for a bit, Grandma. These biscuits are awful. The osmanthus Cakes we used to eat were so much better. I was losing my mind. But I didn't dare stop. Just as my nerves were stretched to their absolute breaking point. A harsh burst of TV static crackled through the living room. The TV turned on. Rule 4. If you notice your TV or radio turning on by itself, please do not panic. Just unplug the power cord. I violently jumped up and rushed toward the TV. The screen was full of white snow, accompanied by deafening white noise, and from within that chaotic noise, a human voice faintly bled through. Tsetst. MS Tsetst. Help. We are underground. Tsetst. It's so dark. That voice. That was the real property manager, Zhao Zhong's voice. Complete with the lisp. Whatever you do, don't open the door. That thing up there isn't me. It ate everyone. I scrambled frantically to pull the plug. But the very second my fingers brushed the power cord, the image on the TV suddenly snapped into focus. A massive face took over the entire screen. Its eyes were crimson red. Its mouth was stretched into an impossibly wide, sickening grin. It was looking at me. Or more accurately, it was looking asterisk behind asterisk funny. You. I yanked the plug out of the wall. The screen instantly went pitch black. The room plunged back into dead silence. I gasped for air. My heart hammering against my ribs. It was looking behind me. It saw Grandma. Was that thing looking for Grandma? Or was it looking for me? Non. Anansi. Raspy voice suddenly echoed right next to my ear. Right next to my right ear. Less than a centimeter away. My entire body locked up. The rules said, until they leave on their own initiative. But the rules never said what to do if the entity actually spoke to you. Those things outside can't come in. Grandma's voice was completely icy, devoid of any emotion. As long as I don't leave, they can't come in. Was she protecting me, or was she keeping me as livestock? I didn't dare answer. I didn't even dare to nod. I just stared dead at the clump of power cord in my hands, pretending I hadn't heard a thing. Grandma, I'm gonna go to sleep now. I mumbled like I was sleep-talking, and fled back to my bedroom. I dove under the covers and pulled them over my head. That red candle sat right next to my pillow, along with that note. Whatever you do, don't trust the red eyes. The thing in the TV had red eyes. The fake Zhao Zhong who delivered the supplies. Although I didn't see the oppressive eyes, feeling of being watched was exactly the same. But Grandma's eyes, in the mirror, were a cloudy, grayish-white. Maybe she really was here to protect me. In my groggy state, I eventually fell asleep. In my dream, I went back to my childhood. Grandma was sitting in the courtyard, fanning me with a palm leaf fan. The stars were twinkling in the sky. Then, the sky went completely black. All the stars turned into blood red, glowing eyes. The fan in Grandma's hand morphed into a meat cleaver dripping with blood. She slowly turned her head. Her face had no features. Nothing but a massive, split-open mouth. No. Time to eat. I jolted awake in a cold sweat. The bedside lamp had turned a deep, bloody red. Rule 3. If the lights in your house suddenly turn red, close your eyes immediately. Lie face down on the floor and count to 100 seconds. I threw myself onto the floor and squeezed my eyes shut as tight as I could. 1, 2, 3. I counted silently in my head. Temp. Asterisk thump. Asterisk. It was inside the bedroom. I could feel it. It was Benver looking at me. There were supposed to be 2. It was a strange woman's voice. Now one is missing. Where did that old hag go? I held my breath. My heart, feeling like it was about to explode. 76, 77, 78. I counted, desperately. A freezing cold hand brushed against my hair. Found it. So fresh. 98. 99. Just as that ice-cold hand slid from my hair down to the back of my neck. The red light in the room instantly vanished, and that freezing hand disappeared along with it, replaced only by absolute pitch blackness, a total blackout. Did that thing just disappear because I successfully counted to 100, or was it chased away by something else? Shivering uncontrollably, I fumbled for the red candle and the lighter next to my pillow. The light can drive them away, but it will also attract something much bigger. I couldn't care about that anymore. Holding the lit candle, I slowly looked around. On the floor, right at the bedroom doorway, there was a trail of footprints. They were Grandma's small, bound feet. She had been standing right at the door. She had shielded me from the thing in the red light. I carried the candle into the living room. The food in the extra bowl was gone. Beside the bowl lay a new note. Guard the door. Do not let anyone inside, whether they are human or not. I'm going downstairs now. There is a huge problem down there, remember. Don't eat the meat. Trust the one wearing a blue apron. This note was left by Grandma. Before I could process what it meant, a massive crashing sound erupted from outside my door, followed by blood-curdling screams. Help! What the hell are you things? Stay back. Brûle cette. If you hear screams coming from a neighbor's house, please pretend you didn't hear it. I immediately retreated to the bedroom and huddled in the corner, but I could still hear it perfectly, and the sounds were getting closer. It seemed Auntie Wang's apartment had been cleared out, and those things were now right outside my door. The warning, don't let the red eyes find you, kept spiraling in my mind. I suddenly realized a loophole. Rule 1 stated, absolutely do not look outside the window. The rules never said you couldn't jump out the window. Arrêtez. In this completely collapsed and twisted world, are the rules really the asterisk only asterisk thing? What about the notes? About-il no? The notes seemed to be trying to help me. The first note was slipped in with the supplies. Don't trust the red eyes. The second note was left by Grandma. Guard the door, maybe. Whoever wrote the rules and whoever was leaving the notes weren't on the same side at all. The knocking began again. Miss Lin. Miss Lin, open up. It's me, Auntie Wang. I know, you're home. I have the latest news on the national rescue effort. Quick, open the door. Of course, I wasn't going to open it. Just heard her being chewed to pieces. How could this possibly be a living person? If you don't open up, I'm coming in. I have your spare key. Damn it. Half a year ago, when I went on a trip, I really had left a spare key with her, just in case a pipe burst while I was away. I had to barricade the door. I used all my strength to push a heavy cabinet, jamming it tightly against the door. The door was forced open by a crack, slamming heavily against the cabinet. A gruesome hand reached through the gap. My cabinet was about to give way. The candle repels them. I thrust the red candle I was holding right up to the crack in the door. The very second the flame touched that pale hand, it violently jerked backward. I tried to take the chance to shut the door, but right then, a printed piece of paper was slipped in. Warning, illegal action detected. You have utilized an unauthorized defensive measure, red candle attack. This will massively increase your threat level. We are coming. And we are not just the monsters from next door. I heard a dense, chaotic stampede of footsteps flooding into the hallway. I had to escape. Rule 1, absolutely do not look outside the window. But it didn't say I couldn't jump out without looking. My apartment was on the second floor. Jumping wouldn't kill me. I suddenly noticed that on the back of the child's note, there was another line of text, in that same wobbly, childish handwriting. Sister, the window actually isn't locked. It's the only way out. Hurry and climb down, look for the place with light. That kid helping me had spoken up again. I sprinted to the balcony. Out there, in that suffocating darkness, I spotted a single point of light. A dim, yellow street lamp was still glowing. Standing under the light was someone in a police uniform. He was holding up a sign that read, "Survivor Safe Zone." The moment I hit the ground, a sharp pain shot through my ankle. But I didn't dare stop for even a second. I limped frantically toward that lone source of light. The second I breached the halo of the street lamp, I collapsed onto the ground, gasping for air. Wa première saf. I looked up at the police officer. His back was facing me, standing perfectly straight. Are you a real police officer?" I asked hesitantly. My entire body was still shaking, my hands clutching the red candle in a death grip. The officer slowly turned around. His face was completely ordinary, just a middle-aged man. Most importantly, he looked normal. No réveil. No extra limbs or distorted features. You managed to escape too. There aren't many living people left in this complex. Tears instantly streamed down my face. Finally, I was finally hearing a normal human voice. I'm from Building 2, Room 201. My grandma. I could see my dead grandma, and there are monsters. I started babbling incoherently, desperate to pour it all out. The officer nodded sympathetically, took a water bottle from his belt, and handed it to me. "Have some water. Don't be afraid. This is a temporary safe zone." I managed to fix this streetlight, running it off a backup generator. There, afraid of the light, I took the water bottle. I was just about to drink from it, but I stopped dead in my tracks. The bottle was freezing cold, and it had a logo printed on it. It was a slightly faded drawing of a sunflower. Unsettling art underneath. This looked like a little child's water bottle. I looked back up at the officer. The name on his badge had been violently scratched out, but I could still faintly make out the character Zhong. Property manager, Xiao Zhong. This man was way older than Xiao Zhong. What's wrong? Drinkupé. Once you drink, you'll have the strength to go to the real shelter. A flicker of impatience flashed through the officer's eyes. A thought suddenly struck my mind like lightning. That nut, don't eat the meat. Don't trust the one wearing a blue apron. Though, he wasn't wearing a blue apron. He was wearing a blue uniform. I'm not thirsty. Where are we going? To the basement. The air raid shelter beneath this building is safe. There are many people down there. The basement. What were the last words? The asterisk, real asterisk. Xiao Zhong screamed from the TV. We are underground. It's so dark. Whatever you do, don't come down here. I took a step back. I'm not going to the basement. The officer's friendly smile evaporated. Little girl, you're being so disobedient. You're making this very difficult. His hand slowly reached toward his waist. He wasn't reaching for a gun holster. He was pulling out a heavy axe that old had blocked me for so long. I finally managed to lure her away. And now, you're telling me you won't go. Oldag. He meant grandma. Who are you? I am the enforcer of the rules. Bad children who break the rules must be corrected. He raised the axe and started walking toward me. But, in that exact moment, the entire world instantly shifted from absolute pitch black to blinding, searing white. The police officer let out a scream far more agonizing than any monster I had heard yet. His body rapidly dissolved into ash within that brilliant white light. All the whispering voices hiding in the darkness around me were incinerated entirely amidst their shrieks. The world finally went quiet when Première woke up. I was lying in a hospital bed. A nurse walked in to change my for. Seeing my eyes open, she smiled and said, "You're finally awake. You've been in a coma for 2 days. How did I get out?" The National Rescue Team, of course. There was a sudden total solar eclipse, followed by an unprecedented magnetic storm. The entire city's power grid and communications were paralyzed for 3 whole days. A lot of people got hurt from the sheer panic. You were found passed out in the community flowerbed, aside from a sprained ankle and mild malnutrition. Yurkina solar eclipse? A magnetic storm. It wasn't an endless night. What about the rules? What about the monsters? What about Grandma? Oh, right. When the police found you, you were clutching this in a death grip. The nurse picked something up from the bedside table and handed it to me. It was a rusted box cutter. And on the blade There were unmistakable streaks of blackish blood. It's pretty dirty. I was going to throw it away. You were holding onto it so tightly back then. I stared down at the blade, my heart racing wildly. If everything really was just a hallucination, then whose blood was this? And there's also this, the nurse said, handing me a piece of paper. We found this tucked inside your coat pocket. Looks like a drawing you made. I took it and examined it. It was that yellowed piece of A4 paper. On the back was the faintly printed Happy Home Community State of Emergency Home Safety Guidelines. But on the front side was a drawing done in crude crayon strokes. It depicted a little girl holding hands with an old lady who had no face. Written near the little girl's feet, in that same crooked, childish handwriting, was a message. Thank you for playing with me, sister. Grandma says you are a good child. This world is getting too crowded, so we're leaving first. I flipped the paper over, on the side with the rules, un des règles 6, the original sentence, until they leave on their own initiative, had been violently crossed out with a red line. Beside it, a new annotation had been added. It was my grandmother's handwriting from when she was alive. Afraid of the dark. As long as you keep a light in your heart, anywhere can be home. At well. Live well. Tears streamed uncontrollably down my face. I was discharged and returned to my apartment complex. Auntie Wang was missing. The police said she might have wandered off and gotten lost in the panic. They were still searching for her. Property manager Zhao Zhong had resigned and moved back to his hometown. No one could reach him. I walked back into my apartment. Everything was exactly the same as when I had fled. I walked over to the mirror in the living room. The blackout cloth was still draped over it. I took a deep breath and pulled the cloth away. The haggard face staring back at me in the mirror was just me. But on the wall behind me, in the reflection, hung the water bottle the police officer had offered me in my dream. The Wanxingqian kindergarten. I finally remembered. That was Lele's water bottle, the little granddaughter of Auntie Li, who lived downstairs. That sweet child. She had tragically passed away 3 years ago after falling from a window. She loved playing hide and seek. And she loved drawing with crayons. Suddenly, my phone buzzed with a notification. It was a new breaking news update. Local news. The cause of the massive solar eclipse and magnetic storm 3 days ago is still under investigation. Experts state that this phenomenon is unprecedented in recorded history. In other news, multiple survivors have reported experiencing mass hallucinations. Psychologists advise citizens to maintain a healthy state of mind. I turned off my phone screen and walked over to the window. I knew now that behind this bright, sunlit world, there is only a very thin membrane separating us. If that membrane ever shatters, those red eyes are waiting, watching us at all times. Thank you, Grandma, I whispered softly into the empty room. And in that fleeting second, from a shadowy corner where the sunlight couldn't quite reach, came an impossibly faint, gentle sigh. AI.